Welcome to Reinventing Broadcast, where AI meets content. Hosted by Ben Anchor. Let's dive in.
This fortnight, I did something that still feels slightly magic. I gave the assistant on my screen a set of hands. For 2 years, these AI models could talk beautifully and do almost nothing useful. They could draft a script, but they could not open my files. They could summarize a meeting, but they could not post the notes anywhere. This fortnight, I connected mine to my actual tools. My voice studio, my audio editor, my notes, my automation platform. And then I asked it to simply get on with things, and it did.
Hands. That is a big claim for what I suspect was you clicking a few toggles. What does giving an AI hands actually mean in practice?
It means the difference between an assistant that advises and an agent that acts. And the thing that makes it possible is a quiet little standard called the Model Context Protocol. MCP for short. The reason I want to give it a whole episode is that in about 18 months, it has gone from one company's experiment to the connective tissue underneath the entire AI industry. If you work in broadcast and you learn one piece of plumbing this year, make it this one.
Then start at the beginning. Where did it come from?
It was published by Anthropic in November 2024, and the idea is almost embarrassingly simple. Before MCP, every time you wanted an AI to talk to a tool, your scheduling system, your asset store, your inbox, somebody had to hand-build a custom connection. Every pairing was bespoke, brittle, and expensive. MCP is one shared standard for all of those connections. People call it the USB-C of artificial intelligence, and that is a fair picture. On one side, you have the AI. On the other, you have a small program called a server that knows how to talk to one particular tool. Plug them together, and the AI can suddenly see and use that tool. Write the server once, and any AI that speaks the protocol can use it.
And that caught on?
Caught on is an understatement. OpenAI adopted it in March 2025. Google built it into Gemini. Microsoft put it across its developer tools. Then in December 2025, the whole protocol was handed to the Linux Foundation, with those same rivals as co-sponsors, which is the moment it stopped being one company's idea and became neutral, shared infrastructure. By March this year, the software libraries behind it were being downloaded 97 million times a month, up from about 100,000 at launch. It also grew up technically. It learned proper sign-in and permissions, and as of January this year, the connectors can hand back live dashboards and forms, not just text. Every major assistant you can name now speaks it.
So there is a mature standard. What actually exists that I could plug in today?
This is the part that surprised me most. There is now a sprawling open library of these servers, more than 10,000 public ones at the last industry count, and one directory alone lists over 22,000. There are off-the-shelf servers for browsing the web with Playwright, for reading and writing files, for your code on GitHub, for chat in Slack, for Google Drive, for Notion, for databases like Postgres and Snowflake. The humble file system connector alone has been installed hundreds of thousands of times. It is a real ecosystem now, with searchable marketplaces, the way you would browse an app store.
All very nice for software people, translated into broadcast.
Gladly, because the mapping is direct. Think about every system a broadcaster runs: your media asset management, your content system, your scheduling and playout, your audience data warehouse where the audience figures and the delivery logs live, your creative and design tools, a Canva or a Figma, your messaging. Every one of those is a candidate for a connector. Once they all speak the same protocol, an intelligent agent can reach across the lot of them through one doorway, instead of you wiring 15 private tunnels by hand. The tools were always there. What was missing was a common way for the AI to reach them.
Give me the version you actually ran, not the theory.
Fair. For the podcast you are listening to right now, I connected an agent to 11 labs for the voices. to Descript for the audio editing, and to N8N for the workflow automation. I can hand it a script, and it reaches the voice service to produce the audio, then passes it down the chain to be processed and quality checked while I supervise, rather than press every button. On the consulting side, I have pointed agents at data sources so they can pull signals together for analysis. And the striking thing is how little effort it now takes. A year ago, that was a software project with a budget. This fortnight, it was an afternoon of connecting things that already knew how to talk to each other.
You keep saying agent, be precise. What is an agent workflow, and why does this protocol make it so easy?
An agent workflow is when you describe an outcome in plain English, and the AI works out the steps, calls the tools it needs, checks its own results, and corrects itself when something breaks. MCP is what gives it the tools to call, take a popular automation platform like N8N. Its newer versions let an assistant inspect your whole setup, understand your existing workflows, and run them as tools. You can say, build me a workflow that does this, and it assembles it, validates it, runs a test, and fixes its own mistakes. The human sets the goal, the agent does the plumbing.
Make that concrete for a program maker.
Picture one instruction the morning after you publish. Take the finished episode, transcribe it, draft the show notes and 3 social posts in our voice, load it into the content system, schedule the posts, and tomorrow bring me the early numbers. Before this, that is 5 tools and a person copying between them for an hour. With it, that is 1 agent reaching 5 connectors and reporting back. Or on the analysis side, an agent that pulls viewing figures, delivery logs and social chatter together to explain why a show overperformed or underperformed last week, because each of those is simply another connector. That is the whole shift in one sentence. The work that used to be human glue is becoming the agent's job, and the human moves up to judgment.
Beyond your own show, where would this bite first in a real broadcaster?
4 places, and none of them are exotic. First, the archive. Decades of programs sitting behind thin metadata. An agent that can reach your asset store and your transcription service can watch, listen, tag and describe that content at a scale no human team could ever match, which turns a dead archive into something searchable and sellable. Second, compliance and access services. Captions, audio description, profanity and rights checks. All jobs where an agent reaching the right tools can do a first pass and flag only what a human must sign off. Third, the newsroom, where a research agent can pull from the wires, your own past coverage and the open web through connectors, and assemble a briefing in minutes rather than hours. Fourth, advertising operations, reconciling schedules, playout logs, and billing across systems that have never once spoken to each other. In every case, the pattern is identical. The intelligence was already available. The connections were not. This is the thing that supplies the connections.
And the skill needed to build these is, what, a software team?
That is the quiet revolution, inside the loud one. Increasingly, it is not a software team. Because the agent assembles the steps from your plain description, and the tools already exist as connectors, the person directing it needs to understand the broadcast problem, not the programming language. The expertise that matters shifts back towards domain knowledge and editorial judgment. For an industry full of deep specialists and rather short on engineers, that is genuinely good news, not a threat.
But surely these agents turn into a tangled mess as you bolt more on. How do you stop that?
That is exactly the right worry, and it is where the practice is maturing fastest. Anthropic, who started all this, published a genuinely useful piece of guidance on it. When an agent grows overgrown, you stop stuffing everything into one enormous prompt, and you break it into 3 kinds of thing. Tools, which are the single discrete actions, very often the MCP connectors we have been talking about. Skills, which are reusable procedures, a packaged way of doing a recurring job so you are not re-explaining it every time. And subagents, which are specialists you hand work to, each with its own focused context, so the main agent stays clean. A captioning skill here, an archive tool there, a research subagent over there.
And how do you know any of that made it better rather than worse?
That is the discipline that holds the whole thing together. You run evaluations after every change. Evals, in the jargon. A fixed set of tests the agent has to keep passing. So when you add a tool or split off a subagent, you can see in actual numbers whether you improved it or broke it. That is the line between a clever prototype that dazzles once in a demo and a maintainable system you can run a department on. For broadcast, that line matters enormously because a newsroom or a playout chain cannot be held together by a prompt that happens to work on a good day.
It sounds frictionless. I do not trust frictionless. What is the catch?
You are right not to, and I will be straight about it, though I want to keep it in proportion, because this is genuinely new, and the rough edges are being filed down quickly. So here is the honest list. 1. Prompt injection, where hidden instructions buried in content can trick an agent into doing something it should not. 2. Supply chain risk, because anyone can publish a server, so an unvetted one is code you are trusting blind. 3. Identity and permissions, because agents can slip past the access controls we built for humans. 4. Data exposure, because sensitive material can end up sitting in the model's context. Researchers catalogued around 30 serious vulnerabilities in popular servers early this year, and the security agencies have begun publishing guidance. The blunt summary is that the connecting is easy and the governing has not fully caught up.
That is not a short list.
It is not. But notice the shape of it. Not one of those is a reason the technology does not work. They are reasons to adopt it with a grown-up's discipline. And the market is already answering, with gateways that put permissions, audit trails, and access control in front of every connector, which is exactly the layer the protocol itself leaves out. For broadcast, the rule is simple. Treat a connector like any other supplier. Know what you have plugged in, give it only the access it needs, and keep a record of what it did. Do that, and the downside list becomes a checklist rather than a wall.
So your honest verdict, for someone in our industry, deciding whether to care?
Care and start small. This is the most important piece of AI infrastructure most people have never heard of, and it has crossed from experiment to standard in record time. It does not replace the scheduler, the producer, or the editor. It hands them an assistant that can finally reach their tools and do the dull connective work, which makes their judgment matter more, not less. The data and the craft were always the moat. This is just the bridge that lets the AI walk up to it. Build the bridge carefully, and then walk across it.
And you managed all of this without breaking anything?
I will tell you that war story another time. We would be here all night. Thank you for listening to the Inside Track. We will see you in a fortnight.
Thanks for listening to Reinventing Broadcast. Subscribe for more on AI content and the future of media. And visit ancast.tv for more info on Ben himself, the resources, other content, and news.